hasn't wished for a second chance, a do-over, a fresh start? Who hasn't wished for that? I mean, we've all had moments in our lives where we've had relationships that need mending, where something in our life needs to be corrected, or let's just be honest, I just simply want to start over. I just want a new opportunity, a new chance. So I want you to imagine for just a moment with me, imagine a big red button. Maybe you've seen the ones at Staples, you know, that red button when you hit it and it says, that was easy. Maybe you've seen that red button, but just imagine a big red button, because we're going to find ourselves today in a place where God just hit the big red button. He hit the reset button, and in some ways, he probably said, well, that was easy. And for some of us, we would actually like a reset button in our lives, where we could just simply go back and just, man, I wished I wouldn't have done that. Reset, nobody even knows, let's start over. Or I wish I wouldn't have hurt them. Reset, let's start over, let's do this again. We've all had moments in our lives where we've had misunderstandings that we wish we could go back and change. People that we hurt that we wish we would have never hurt. Relationships that we broke and we wish we would have never broke them. We wish we could just simply go back and hit the reset button. Do you know that God has set a reset button for you and for me? And he set that reset button through mercy and grace. That out of his love for us, out of his love for you and for me, that he sent his son Jesus to come to this earth, to be perfect, to live a perfect life, and eventually go to the cross, to die for you, to die for me, because he knew that we couldn't be perfect. And so he hit that reset button. And if you were here last week, we talked about the flood. Pastor Brett talked about the flood. And I encourage you, if you did not see that or you weren't here to be a part of that, go on our YouTube channel, check it out, and it will really help you understand where we're going today. But God hit that reset button where he flooded the earth. And all that was left was Noah, some animals, and his family. And now we find ourselves in a place where the reset button is hit, and what's going to happen? What's going to happen? How is God going to respond? And better yet, how is Noah and his family going to respond to this reset that has been taking place? And a better question is that when something happens in your life and you feel like you have to hit the reset button, how do you respond? How do you respond to that reset button? Because see, again, he offers us this beautiful thing called grace and mercy. And he gives us this example through Noah's story in the flood. And after the flood, he essentially hits that reset button on all of humanity, giving Noah and his family a fresh start. And he establishes something with Noah and his family, something that he establishes with you and me. He establishes a covenant and a promise. A covenant is a commitment. He makes a commitment to you and to me and a promise to us that he would never, ever flood the earth again. And he symbolizes this through a rainbow. And if you have your Bibles this morning, I want to encourage you to turn to Genesis chapter 9, verses 1 through 17 is what we're going to be looking at. And really what these passages tell us, it tells us about this covenant and the significance of the rainbow and really what it means for you and me today. And so to set the scene for you, the great flood, it's taken place. Noah and his family, they step off the ark to a fresh world, a clean world, a new world, one that has been reset. And God speaks to Noah, giving him and his descendants a fresh start, a new beginning, a do-over, a second chance. And this is echoed even throughout all of Scripture. And what we begin to see through this promise in these passages is really not an ancient story, but an enduring promise that even lasts today. A promise that you and I can begin to hang on and discover for ourselves what it means in our lives as we go through life every single day. So let's pick up in verse 1 of Genesis chapter 9. It says, "Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, 'Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and the dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and on every creature that moves along the ground and all the fish in the sea. They're all given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I give you the green plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood, I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal, and from each human being too. I will demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. Just simply stop there. Because as you read that, if you're like me in the beginning, when I first began to read that, it's like, okay, you've given me everything. First, I see you tell me that we're supposed to multiply. We're supposed to multiply and be fruitful and manage what God has blessed us. And if you go back to the very beginning in Genesis 1:28, it's the same command that he gave Adam and Eve. He said, be fruitful, multiply, take care of what I've given you. And then he says, look, everything that I've given you, it's for your benefit. Eat of it, enjoy it, take of it, have it. But then he makes this statement about blood and the bloodline and this and that. And if you go back, it goes back to what we discovered a couple of weeks ago with Cain and Abel. Don't do anything out of evil intent. Don't try to hurt somebody. Don't do anything that you wouldn't want done to you, but I'm giving this to you because everything that has been created in my image. It goes back to the creation story. Everything that he has done up to this point, this reset, he's reminding them, hey, this is where you've been. This is what's happened in your life, but I want you to be prepared because this is what's coming. This is what's coming. Even though I've set a reset, even though I've flooded the earth and I've taken away everything, and now I've placed you here, you and your family, you and your descendants, I've got something for you. And this is what he says, picking up in verse 7. As for you, it says, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Again, what I said in Genesis 1:28, the same command that he gave to Adam and Eve. Then God said to Noah and his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, and all those that come out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And then in verse 12, and God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you. A covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you, and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all of life on earth. So we begin to see that God has established something that he established with Noah and his sons and his family. The same thing that he establishes with us, a covenant. A covenant is a commitment. A commitment is, I promise that I will honor my word. Here's what I promised you. Never again will I flood the earth. Never again will you have to experience what you just went through. Never again. Again, there in verses 9 and 11, now I establish my covenant with you and your descendants and every living creature, everything. Never again will I flood or destroy the earth. This promise, this covenant, this commitment that he makes to you and to me, it's unconditional. There's no terms. There's no if clause that exists in this. When he makes this statement to us, he doesn't say, well, I'll never flood the earth, but if you, then maybe I will. No. He's saying, look, I'm committing to you that I will never do this again. I know how hard it was. I have to imagine for a moment, what was it that Noah and his family were thinking? I mean, even if you go back to them building the ark and watching everyone around them and the things that they must have said to them. Oh, did you see? Look at what Noah and his family are doing. Those people are crazy. Why are they going there? I'm sure all of that as they sat on that boat for 40 days and 40 nights. All of the things that were said and probably even done to them, they probably processed and sat in that for 40 days and nights. Okay, God, what is it that you're doing? And better yet, why did you choose me? Why did you choose me? All of the people that you could have chosen, why me? Why my family? And then the waters, they go away. And they step out of the boat. And everything that they knew before is gone. It looks nothing like it did before. All the people that they saw before, they're never there. He hit the reset button. But what we understand is this covenant, this commitment that he makes, it's unconditional. It's a promise based solely on God's grace, not on human merit. This promise, this commitment, this covenant that he makes with Noah and his family, this promise, this commitment that he makes with you and me, it's not based on us. It wasn't based on Noah. It was solely based on God's grace and his love that he extended them to say, okay, Noah, I know that the world seems like it's falling apart all around you, but I've got a plan. I've got a plan for you and for your family, and I've got a plan for humanity. Think about it for a moment. God's promise, his commitment to us, this commitment that he will never destroy the earth by a flood again, it's actually a testament. It's a testament to his faithfulness. It's a testament to his mercy. Even when we falter, even when we mess up, no matter where we've been, no matter what we've done, God remains steadfast. He remains committed. I promise I will never do this again. Have you ever made a promise that you didn't keep? Have you ever told somebody that you would do something, but you didn't do it? Have you even gone as far as, I'll pinky promise with you. You can trust me. And then something happens and you don't keep that promise? I mean, we've all done it. We've all said and done things that we wished that we would follow through with that we didn't follow through. We've all made promises. We've all made commitments where we said, you can trust me. I've got your back. I promise. And then something happens. And we fail. We miss the mark. We didn't live up to our end of the bargain. We didn't keep our promise, but his promise, the promise that he made to Noah and to his family, and the same promise that he makes to us, he says, you can trust me. I'm faithful. I know that this seems horrific, and it wasn't what you expected, and this wasn't the original plan, but things change. I had to reset. I had to do a do-over. I had to give you a second chance. See, this covenant, it's not limited to Noah and his family. It extends to us, and it extends to every creature. It tells us there in Genesis 9:10. It shows us that God cares for all of creation, that when he created everything in the beginning, that he created it for a purpose and a reason, that it wasn't by accident. It didn't just fall there from some empty place, but it came through God and what he created. See, God's promise in this covenant, it's unconditional. What he simply declares is what he says there in Genesis 9:11, never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. This commitment, it doesn't depend on us. It doesn't depend on our actions or even our obedience. It doesn't depend on us. His promise to you and to me, no matter what we do, no matter where we go, no matter what we say, no matter who we hurt, his promise is his promise. He's committed. It doesn't depend on you or me. And how do I know this? Listen to what he says in Isaiah 54, 9 through 10. And he reiterates this promise, comparing it to the covenant of peace that he makes with us. He says this, to me, this is like the days of Noah, when I swore that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So now I have sworn not to be angry with you, never to rebuke you again. John Calvin, a pastor and a theologian, he says this, the covenant of grace that was made with Noah was not only a promise of temporal blessing, but also a figure of a covenant of grace made with Christ through eternal life. This was just a foreshadowing of what was to come for you and for me. Because God knew that even hitting the reset button, starting over again, that we would need help. And he sent that help through his son, Jesus. That I'm committed to you. That my commitment to not destroy the earth again through a flood, to not destroy you, but to reach out to you in mercy and grace because of my love for you, that no matter where you go, no matter what you do, I am there. I'm committed. He's made a promise. He's committed to us that he will be there. And through this commitment, he gives us a sign. This promise that he made, he gives us a sign. And the sign is a rainbow. And I know in our culture, especially in this day and age, a rainbow can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But today, I want you to see where it initiated, where it started, and the meaning for that rainbow, and why it exists for you and for me. See, in verses 12 and 13, God says, this is the sign of the covenant I'm making between me and you and every living creature. I have set my rainbow in the clouds. And it will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. It will be a sign of the promise that I'm making to you, that I am committed to you. Rainbows are stunning, aren't they? At least that's what I'm told. I'm colorblind, so I can't tell. When I see a rainbow in the sky, I just see this glow of light that just goes across. And my wife will tell me, oh, look at the beautiful colors. What colors? But from what I understand and what I hear from others, that they are a stunning sight to see. That they're beautiful, that they appear after a storm. It's a reminder of us that even after the darkest times, that beauty and hope can emerge. That even after the darkest times, and it must have been some pretty dark times for Noah and his family, to sit there for 40 days and 40 nights to wonder, okay, what's happening next? Whew. I really hope God knows what he's doing. I really hope he has a plan. And check out the parallel because it parallels to your life and in mine. Where have we sat in that same place as Noah and his family and we've just said, whew, man, it seems ugly right now, God. This seems like a storm that I don't know if I can actually bear it and make it through it. I hope you know what you're doing, God. But yet after the storm, something emerges that begins to bring hope and beauty to Noah and his family. See, the rainbow is more than just a natural phenomenon. It's actually a divine symbol. It's a symbol of his promise and his commitment that he's made to us, that whenever we see a rainbow, we're reminded of his promise and that his love will endure forever. See, it's like God's way of saying, I'm here. I remember my promise to you. I'm faithful. When you see that rainbow, it's God saying to you and to me, I'm here. I remember. I haven't forgotten. I remember the promise that I've made to you. You can trust me. I'm faithful. I'm faithful. The prophet Ezekiel also saw a vision of God's glory with a rainbow in Ezekiel 1:28. And he connects that rainbow to the presence and the promise of God. Another pastor and a theologian is someone that studies the scriptures. He once said this, as surely as the rainbow is set in the cloud, God is faithful to his covenant. He will keep his word. He will never forget his promise. He'll never forget it. Remember, we've all made promises that we haven't kept. Even promises that we've made that we've forgotten that, oh, I made that promise to you? I told you that? Are you sure that was me? Are you sure you don't have me mixed up with somebody else? Not with God. It's a reminder that he will never forget his promise. It's a reminder not only for us, but it's a reminder for God. Because again, in verses 14 and 15, it says, whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures. This simply means that he will never forget. He's emphasizing his perpetual nature of his promise, that it's an active engagement with us and with all of creation, that, hey, you can trust me. I know others have failed you. They've let you down. They have said things and they haven't kept their word, but you can trust me. I'll keep my promise. You can trust me. Humans will fail you, but I will never fail you. And this is the beauty of it. Because here's what happens so often to us as followers of Jesus. We'll look at a pastor or we'll look at spiritual leaders and we'll actually put them on the same pedestal with Jesus when I'm no different than you. Do you know, as a pastor, I hear this all the time. Pastor, can you pray for me because your prayers are better than mine? You have this special connection with God that I don't have. No, I don't. I have the same connection that you have. I can come before God on the same level ground that you come. And so when he makes this promise, he's making it to all of us when he says, I remember this. I will remember. I won't forget. He is saying to you and to me, I haven't forgotten you. I know where you are right now. I know what you're going through. I know it seems like there's no hope on the other side, but you're not forgotten. You're not forgotten. I remember. I remember. It underscores God's unwavering faithfulness. Despite our sin, despite our failure, God remains committed. Despite us. Despite where we've been, what we've done, what's been done to us, he's committed. He's faithful. Lamentations 3:22-23, it kind of echoes his faithfulness when it says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassion, it never fails. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So if we know that God's made a promise to us and he signifies that promise through a rainbow to remind us of the promise that he's made to you and to me, how should we respond to this? It's one thing to know it. It's another thing for you and I to live in it. I mean, I could just be satisfied and say, okay, thanks, God. Appreciate it. I know you'll never flood the earth again. Sounds great. And most of the time when we see a rainbow, we see it, it's like, oh, that's nice. And we just move on. So the question becomes, how do you and I respond knowing that God has made this commitment, this covenant, this promise to you and to me, and he reminds us and reminds himself of that promise every time there's a rainbow? Well, first, we should live with gratitude. We should respond with gratitude. We should be thankful. We should be thankful. Every time we see a rainbow, let's thank God for the promises that he's made to us. Let's thank God for his faithfulness. Let's just stop for a moment and smell the roses. But we're so busy. There are so many things happening around. We live life in warp speed. Well, I got this today. I've got to go there, and I've got to do that, and I got to make sure this happens. And oh yeah, the family needs this, and the wife needs that, and work. And how can I ever just stop? Just stop. And just say, God, you know what? I'm thankful today. Yeah, it's not perfect. Everything's not going exactly the way that I hoped that it would go or even thought that it would go. But God, I am so thankful. I'm thankful today for the air that I have to breathe. I'm thankful today that I can stand here. God, I'm thankful today that I can gather with my family and worship. I'm thankful to just stop and to be grateful. To live in gratitude. But it's easier to live on the other side, isn't it? It's easy to be like, oh, that's frustrating. Oh, it happened again. Why don't they just listen? I don't know how many times I've got to tell the kids to stop fighting or running in the house. Stop throwing balls at your brother. Just stop. Lord, I'm grateful that they're throwing balls at each other. I'm grateful that they're running through the house. Lord, I'm grateful. When's the last time you just stopped and you said, God, I'm grateful? We should respond with gratitude. We should live in trust. See, God's covenant assures us that he's always with us. The Bible tells us that he will never leave us or forsake us. But I know you've been in those dark moments where you felt like you were in the pit and you were all alone. That nobody was there, that nobody understood. Nobody could know what you're going through. Nobody's ever been there. God, does he even really care? I mean, if he cared, why am I in the pit to begin with? And what I've discovered most of the time when I find myself in the pit, it's not because of God, but it's usually because of a choice that I made or because of a choice that someone else made to hurt me. It wasn't because God didn't love me. It wasn't because I couldn't trust him. See, no matter how tough life gets, we can always face the challenges of life with confidence, knowing that God is always with us, that he will never leave us, because his promises are unbreakable. In Hebrews chapter 10, verses 23, he encourages us by saying, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful." Let us hold on to it. Let us hold on to the hope of who Jesus is and what he did in the work of the finished cross. That out of his love for you, he took what we deserved. He took it. He didn't mess up. I messed up. But he was faithful. And out of his faithfulness, he sent his son to die for you and for me. So we have to trust it. But the reality is we put our trust in a lot of things today. A lot of things that we hope will get us where we think we want to be. But what if we just pivot for a moment and we shift that trust really to him and say, God, whatever it is, wherever I go, whatever I do, wherever you lead my steps today, I will trust you. I'll trust you. So we respond with gratitude. We respond with trust. We should reflect God's faithfulness in our relationships. See, just as God is committed to us, we should strive to be faithful and loving to others. Here's how I know that you and I should live our life every single day. He gives us two simple things: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is to love others the way that you and I long to be loved. To be faithful in our relationships. To be committed. To show up when we need to show up. To be there when people need us the most. You know what it's like when people don't show up for you? You know what it's like? You know what it's like to go through a moment where you feel like you're all alone and you just wish somebody was there. Not that they need to give you the answer, but they could just simply be present. That they've got your back. And God is saying, look, I am faithful, and because I am faithful, I am desiring for you to be faithful. It means being there for your family and your friends, keeping your promises, showing grace and mercy. Showing it, not just receiving it, but actually showing it, because everyone else, they're just like you. They're just like me. We all make mistakes. We all trip. We all fall. But we need to respond with faithfulness. So we respond with gratitude. We respond with trust. We respond with faithfulness. And lastly, we should be stewards of God's creation. He tells us that we are to multiply and to take care of everything that he has created, that we should actually take care of it. Take care of ourselves. Take care of all of creation. Take care of the things around us. Not just use it and abuse it and throw it away and I'll get something new. But begin to take care of, be a good steward. This covenant isn't just with humanity, but it's with all living creatures. We have a responsibility to take care of it. I mean, he reminds us, because he said this in Genesis 2:15, work it, take care of it. Work everything as if it is for the Lord and take care of it, because I've provided it for you. Tim Keller, a pastor and an author, he writes this: creation was a gift from God to be cared for. The rainbow, it reminds us of this relationship and our responsibility. It should remind us. So how do we respond? How are you going to respond when it comes to God's promise to you and his promise to me? We're reminded of that promise by the rainbow. Every time we see it in the sky, every time after a great storm, we see the rainbow. I grew up in Texas, and one of the things that I experienced a lot in Texas as a kid was tornadoes. And my kids had never experienced a tornado. They had seen them on TV, and for some reason, when we see something on TV, we don't always believe that it's real, right? We see it, we're like, if that comes, I'm better than those people, I can handle it. I don't know why they're going so crazy. But my son, He got to spend some time with his grandparents in Texas in May, June, and a little bit of July. And we got a call one afternoon. He's like, Dad, you'll never believe what happened. What? Mimi and Pops, they came into my room at 6 a.m. and they started shaking me to wake me up and said, let's go, let's run, get in the bathroom now. There's a tornado. And he's like, what? A tornado? He didn't expect it. And so he got to experience for the first time something that he had never actually seen himself in person. And then after the tornado passed and he saw the devastation of the trees that were down, the houses and the things around them that were all messed up, what he was reminded of was God's promise, because even after all the carnage and the damage, what he saw was the beauty of the rainbow. And it was a reminder that, yes, what you see here is temporal. It's not meant to last. But my promise with you, it will last for eternity. You can trust me. No matter where you are right now, no matter what is going on in your life, God is saying, you can trust me. And the question becomes simple. Do you trust him? Do you trust him? Because if you and I trust him, then it should lead to the way that we respond to him. The way that you and I respond to his promises. See, these verses in Genesis 9, 1 through 17, it's an image. It's really a powerful image of God's love and his commitment. The covenant and the rainbow, it's a reminder that God is always faithful, no matter what is going on. And as we go about our lives, I pray that you will hold to the promises, that you will live with gratitude, that you will live with trust, that you will live with faithfulness, that you will live as a good steward. Remember, every rainbow is a sign that God's love endures, that his promises are true, and that his faithfulness is everlasting. Will you pray with me? Father, how often do we want a second chance, a fresh start, or a do-over? You hit the reset button right here with Noah and his family. And in the middle of all the devastation that they saw, you made a promise. You promised that you would never destroy the earth again by a flood. But that promise was more than just you would never destroy the earth. But it was a promise and a commitment of your faithfulness to us. That you would provide a way. And Father, today there are people that are looking for the way because they see the carnage of their life and they look at it and they feel that there is no hope. But you provided a way, and that way is provided through your Son, Jesus. That out of your love for us, that Jesus took the death that we deserved, a death on a cross, to pay for my sins, my shortcomings, where I fall flat on my face, where I don't keep my end of the bargain, my end of the promise. And he was placed in a tomb, and 3 days later, he rose from that tomb, and he conquered sin and death on my behalf. And he spent 40 days on earth reminding us of that. And today, he sits at the right hand of you to remind us of the promises, that you are faithful, that you are for us, not against us, that you love us, and that your love will always endure. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen. Will you stand as we continue to worship?